The Very Old Man with Enormous Wings by Gabriel Garcia Marquez is in the chapter on fantasy. But I want you to realize that his story does not neatly fit into our definition of fantasy. We talk about the fact that when we are dealing with fantasy, we have to accept something that doesn't fit a concept of reality. But even within that fantastical version, there are rules that must be followed. Magical realism, which Marquez's work is considered to be representative of, is not exactly fantasy, nor a tall tale, nor surrealism, but it takes a combination of realism and magical elements. Marquez uses the influence of French and Spanish surrealism, the magical myths of the indigenous tradition of Latin America as well as that of Africa, and together all of those elements create something that is called magical realism. When we talk about that, we look at the difference between tone and events, because the story is told very much as a realistic tale. It is not told as a fantasy, but there is magic within it that helps us to see something about ourselves. And in that way, magical realism is similar to fantasy. This story centers on the appearance of a very old man with enormous wings. Those concepts that are fantastical are a part of the reality of the story. And the story actually establishes a setting that allows for the fantastical. We have rain that has been too long. We have crabs that are drowning. We have a world that has been sad. Not people, but an entire world that has been sad. Within that reality, we find that a very old man with enormous wings appears. Our point of view is objective and omniscient, but there is no commentary. We have a setting that is in Latin America. We have main characters. We have a husband and his wife with a sick child, and we have the very old man with enormous wings. And then our minor characters come to us out of the community. And we see them in contrast to the old man. The conflict for the townspeople is very much what the conflict is for us. Why is he here? Who is he? What does he mean? And we have to look at how that conflict is resolved, or if it is resolved. When we look at theme, we look at details, patterns, allusions, symbols, and plot. Our theme is the central unifying concept. It provides insight and understanding. What patterns are there? What details can we focus on that help us see what is central to this story? Is the very old man symbolic? When we look at theme, we consider the feelings of the main characters as we see what they think and say, how they act, what they learn, whether or not they change or develop, and the actions or events that may express an idea. When we express theme, we make a complete sentence. We make a generalization about people without being vague, without exaggerating or overgeneralizing. We identify the main idea, and we account for all of the major, but we don't put ourselves in the story. There may not be a moral. We're trying to identify the insight. So what insight do we gain from the very old man with enormous wings? What does it tell us about human beings and our need to categorize and label things? Our tendency to apply pure logic to anything we don't understand, even things that we think may be spiritual in nature. What does it say about human beings who profit from that which is novel? And what about human beings that makes us come to see something extraordinary as being routine? The story of the very old man with enormous wings is the story of a community, not just the couple and the very old man, but how the culture as a whole reacts to something that they don't understand. How do institutions respond to it? How do we dismiss things when they do not fit definitions that we think they should fit? And how do we dismiss things when they do not meet our expectations? We have to interpret. We have to we have to see a world that allows for things that are unbelievable, but then we have to come to understand those, to see what it tells us about ourselves. How is it that we human beings react to things that we don't understand? What does that say about us?